you They wanted that Q out. He's trying to burst down Khan, but that is not going to happen. As easy as you would like, just hand it over to the side of Clid. He's going to pick up first blood.
It's pretty abysmally poor lane
Q out.
power,
He's trying to
lane
burst down
positioning
Khan,
from
but that
Grace
is not going to happen. As easy as you would like, just hand it over
trying to break
the side of
freeze. He was still
Clid.
harassing, so it seemed
He's going to pick
very,
up
very
first blood.
tone deaf to where the jungler could
abysmally
be. More like
Q out. He's trying to
lane
burst down
positioning
Khan,
from
but that
Grace.
is not going to happen. As easy as you would like, just hand it over to the side of Clid. He's going to pick up
very
first
tone
blood.
deaf to where the jungler could abysmally
More like Q out. He's trying to burst down Khan, but that is not going to happen. As easy as you would like, just hand it over to the side of Clid. He's going to pick up
very
first
tone
blood.
deaf to where the jungler could abysmally
More like Q out. He's trying to burst down Khan, but that is not going to happen. As easy as you would like, that hand it over for a get a side of around.
Very tone deaf to where the jungler could abysmally
More like Q out. He's trying to burst down Khan, but that is not going to happen. As easy as you would like, that hand it over for a get a side of around.
Very tone deaf to where the jungler could abysmally
More like Q out. He's trying to burst down Khan, but that is not going to happen. As easy as you would like, that hand it over for a get a side of around.
Very tone deaf to where the jungler could abysmally
More like Q out. He's trying to burst down Khan, but that is not going to happen.
lane trades
As you would like, that hand it over for a get a side of around.
It's to more lane presence because he moves faster with the boots too, and just more gank attempts. And that is something that I think is important, and that is the thing that's a little bit out of order for Jin Air to consider. If the Piggy's there, they're probably in trouble.
You see he's already looking to make plays up in the top side. Although Jin Air coming in as 3 into the river. Going to shut down wherever Faker was. Grace going to just shuffle down towards the south side. And no action will take place as it seems everybody is going to be spotted. Faker had to use his package as well a little bit earlier on. But everybody's looking up towards this top side, of course, because the Rift Herald had spawned about 50 seconds ago. And if they can get control of that, perhaps get a support to roam up, they can start that and get a big objective.
No lethality from Teddy this game. Gonna be very standard on-hit build. Upside cleared for C's.
Okay, trying to get on top of this guy as the stun is gonna come in and double ultimate coming through from the Sejuani. Is the damage there though as Clid is gonna flash forward, but the Aatrox is gonna shut him down! And now the Aatrox is a monster. They just have to deal with him, but C's is coming back. And this is a disaster for SKT as Jin Air are going to pick up 2. They're looking for one more, but Khan able to flash and duke his way out, but that's 2 kills for none in favor of Jin Air.
And even though SKT's members responded first and were more aggressive, they just couldn't get that first kill. The Silas lives on about 100 to 200 health. The moment the Azir came in, easy cleanup as he wants Khan. Won't have the range on it, needs to be half a second more decisive, but this is big for Jin Air Green Wings.
I mean, it's gigantic. It gets them off to such a good start. All the swapping shenanigans in the first blood had us kind of shaking our heads once again, but already you can see that Z is kind of able to bait them into this one.
It has an item lead and also a level lead overseas. That's why the play starts. And he also is very on point with his timings around blowing up the passive, then ulting. But if you watch the play here towards the end, he's chasing for that last bit of damage. Faker can't get the auto attack. Potentially take down C's. He gets his first Triumph heal. And while Khan's responding, it's a grouping level 8 Fiora who's behind. What's she to do? Gonna have very little impact here. Aatrox and Azir are much stronger skirmishing champions than SKT's this early into the game. Because they're in position, it shows.
We talked about trying to play make, and here we go again, but the rest of Jin Air showing up. Faker able to shoot a bunch of damage in their face once again. Effort trying to come in here, but the Devour is on point. C's is going to be able to get away once again. They still have not been able to kill the Silence.
No, because Jin Air have been pretty good about responding and reading the map state pretty well. And they were, of course, very active in the lane swapping in the early game as well. And through all those shenanigans that you'd have much less scrims in than a very standard game, creating this chaos that C's really represents as a player has actually done a pretty good job of making this game not as by the numbers as perhaps the draft indicated it would be. Early game may not be extended into the mid to late. It may end up being an SKT grinded up victory, but Jin Air are definitely in the competition 14 minutes into the game.
We've seen a lot of action up towards the top side, obviously from First Blood to crazy skirmishes, but the bottom side has been quietly getting slightly ahead here for Teddy. They've had a little bit of Clid hanging around. You can see that 2 Ocean Drakes already have been picked up also quietly by Clid amongst the action. You can see that is going to translate into 2 extra plates for the bottom lane of SKT.
And right now, though, the hope is to get Teddy and Effort out of lane and put them in the mid lane and start to open up the map a little bit. And getting an outer turret in bot lane would be the easiest way to do so. Right now, the Rift Arrow charge would get most of it, but specifically because Grace has been topside, it's not a master stroke because obviously it's a pretty heads-up thing to do, but it's the thing that stops SKT from saying, okay, Fiora greater than Aatrox even early, therefore Rift Herald soloed at 10 minutes by the Sejuani. They haven't been able to start up Rift Herald, and Rift Herald is so important to open a 4-1 comp to get the first turret into rotating your troops exactly where you want them, and that was something they expected would be a byproduct of the draft that has been denied because the Azir will always have priority on a Fiora early.
what has happened in this game is that Jin Air have won a bunch of these fights early, and now they're really focusing on taking the Rift Herald away. It looks like, anyway, Teddy and Effort are going to be able to just push into the bottom side with the Varus and take it down.
It's the first kind of decision I don't necessarily agree with, because actually Jin Air's comp functions way better with turrets up than with turrets down, i.e. no turrets killed on both sides. It's a shorter top lane for the Azir to work in. The moment that outer turrets are down, Azir, even though he can have a lot of mobility, there's a limit to it, right? There is gank paths you can take to potentially shut you down. So regardless, they do pick up that post 14-minute Rift Herald. If that same play was happening at 10 minutes with plates in the consideration, I think it's pretty good. In this spot, this is actually pretty good accuracy from C's on the stolen ult there. We'll see if Teddy can live up to it, hit his own ults. There's the potential that Azir can't just stick around against Fiora. The Hydra is done, so some of the chip damage is less meaningful onto that Fiora. And here is Fiora.
Khan really doesn't seem to care, is able to riposte the sweep away, as now Root is going to flash, but it looks like he's still going to be dead, as the follow-up and the fade away from Teddy to lock him down will net them a kill.
The line skill shots are good. The Fiora suddenly has the ability to curl around, come over a wall, and get into melee range of the Azir. And this is the part of the game where Jin Air usually trip up. Not going to say they've fully tripped just yet, but I'm looking at their shoelaces, Valdez, and they're untied. That's a bad sign.
Looks like it's slow motion, as, you know, in the movies. They first step onto their shoelace, and they're slowly falling through the air. That's the feeling I'm getting, exactly, Papa. Thank you for the sound effects. As, I mean, it's just everything falling apart once again. Fiora's winning a trade. They kill Root. They're able to take the top turret. Faker 1v2 is taking the mid turret. So it's absolutely not the place you want to be in, as Faker's just really doesn't care about Jin Air and knows that he can stick around and take it by himself.
And I watch the top side here. So Root's around the corner trying to get some free poke onto Varus. Problem is, doesn't have river control, so skill shot accuracy just as good from the SKT side. They get their man. We get the reaction shots. T1. I love the golf clap from the fan on the left side there.
Yeah.
Grace already isn't getting to overextend and abuse, and this is what I was mentioning. In a short lane, when everything's defined, when the turrets are up, playing the lane goes one way, but the moment turrets go down, you know, it's the same thing where you forget your turret is down and you just walk to an area you assume is safe, and suddenly you're still getting ganked there, you're still getting flanked from there. Similar properties with being able to pop over a wall as the Fiora and take better trades. It's not going to lead to competitive CS just yet, but it's 2 items in, and when that next completed item is there, Fiora, as we know, a very different proposition.
All right, so Jin Air, they say, okay, enough with getting picked off and pushing a side lane. Let's bring the Fiora to us. Let's come in 5-on-5, do a little bit of A-ramming, and see if we can get a ram onto that one, and maybe even isolate Khan here, who does have to flash away. Takes a little bit away from their mid push, but at least they do get that summoner.
The Guarani ult does hit onto Grace.
Okay, and now we're ulting onto Effort here, who does have that stopwatch. The slow going strong here up against Jin Air. Faker trying to do his best and nearly kills Root by himself with that one rocket, the big one, straight to the face. And the poking is so real. You mentioned it, especially when the items come up, but even already, Corki and Varus doing their thing.
Absolutely, and that's why the fight was started. Clip throws out and all, it gets a devour, and then suddenly it's Corki and Varus with a long leash to throw out poke, and even Root can't match it.
Hunting season.
Hunting season. It wasn't likely to lead to a kill. I was actually surprised with how much damage Faker was doing already. Yeah. But guess what it was likely to lead to? You shake up a Coke can, you're not surprised if it spurts out there. You put enough poke in, you're not surprised if a Mountain Drake falls out for SKT. They're able to pick up that objective because they knew the poke would get health bars low enough. They could get the resting objective. A Mountain, much higher value than those 2 Ocean Drake as the game goes on. They're definitely plotting a Baron before too long.
Yeah, it just feels like, as we mentioned before, Jin Air, once it gets to the mid-game, they're like, okay, now what do we do? You know, they can have their aggressive junglers dive onto turrets, get their lanes ahead, and all of that good stuff. They can be up 3,000 gold, and then they just flounder for, 2, 3, 4 minutes with not enough vision, not enough communication. And leads are thrown, and games are not closed out. I feel like that's their major problem that we've been seeing repeat itself over and over again nowadays.
I think it's the likely thing that happens when you have a team with low experience is that we see Jin trip up in very honest fashion in two different ways. One is when they're ahead in the mid to late game and they just haven't been ahead very much, ostensibly in scrims and definitely in stage games. They just aren't as clean with closeouts. But also when the game state changes from where it was during the laning phase. Speaking of the end of the laning phase, moving for some skirmishes.
Now we're poking again here as the immediate cleanse out of Kellen. This guy knows his mechanics. Linderong over the wall. Nearly dies by himself, and now he's being slowed. Is going to get out of there just barely with the Devour. But you can see that SKT still looking for it. Is actually going to hit Kellen, but it's not enough to kill him.
They're going to run at Baron here. They're going to at least consider it. Yep, straight on to Baron.
Yeah, they've done enough poking, and they know that they've pushed these players out. But Linderong does have his teleport. Let's take a look. Okay, nice block there from Effort as Khan is able to get that ultimate out of Grace very early. It's down to the wire, and it will go SKT's way. Khan in a bit of trouble. Is going to be the first sacrifice, though, and Teddy is going to follow suit, as Linderong won't be able to catch the three-man that jump onto that blasting plant. But the Baron at 2140 is going to be a great objective for SKT.
Going back to that Coke can analogy, didn't know there was still Fizz left in the game, but once again they shake it up with aggressive picks in the enemy jungle, and this time a Baron shakes out of it. The Mountain Drake was definitely the spoiler that they'd be going to that area. They chunk out the jungler again, and now Clid's looking to be a very assertive Piggy. Grace not very high in health.
Is that thick Piggy you were talking about before? All the items going one-on-one as that adaptive helm just puts him in the ground. One-on-one, the jungler, and he's even going to recall.
Yep, he's going to get out. The adaptive helm is built to deal with Azir. The item is put together to frontline against the Sand Soldiers. Here is that shake-up, diving in, getting on top of the enemy jungle. Linderong here is hilarious. This reminds me of if you could ult aggressively as Sion and then nope out straight away with the cowards playing, because he comes in thinking he's flanking and then understands he's never going to get anyone low enough to get that blood well going. Straight out the door, Khan stops Grace from coming in to harass, and the Baron is claimed by SK Telecom T1.
Grace can't do anything except poke Khan, who's just trying to, be a savior and help his friends to get out of there. The blasting plant is another true hero that helps him get to safety. As SKT, now with the Baron, unfortunately they don't get it onto their Fiora, which means that the side push is not going to be quite as strong, especially up against Azir.
Don't know if that will relieve Jin Air Green Wings too much. Down about 3,500 gold. And some of the completed items, we already saw the amusing value of that adaptive helm. Adaptive helm against the Azir, but this Corki is gone for the high roll build. If he's critting, he's deleting health bars.
All right, now we're thinking about this Abyssal Voyage. Faker trying to get over the wall here, and that is not going to work as Kellen NC is going to throw out a bunch of abilities, but not much is going to hit as SKT will be able to get away.
If it wasn't holding the door very well, but still able to disengage that pretty trivially. The moment that Valkyrie comes back up, maybe can resume his split pushing action. Speaking of split pushes, Fiora has very little info, so actually just focusing on the Gromp for now. Wave spot, not going to be threatening them in 3 lanes just yet. The SKT have multiple ways they can play out this game. I may actually get this Baron power play higher as Effort. He's dead.
What?
Well, you see, he went alone and died. That's what happened.
Excuse me? Yeah, I mean, really just trying to force it there. I think the communication was way off.
That play only works if Fiora's actually pushing in the bot lane. If Fiora's going for Gromp and then going for the bot lane push, actually Jinna had the free ability to contest that brush. In the VOD review, it's a very easy one for Koma and Zephyr to explain to Effa what the issue is. Faker couldn't push top lane anymore. He had to back away because his Valkyrie was down. Fiora didn't feel like she was safe enough to push bot lane. so she was on the Gromp, and then slowly entering the lane was the Fiora. So there's no map pressure, and map pressure is what stops Jin Air from being able to camp rushes, so Effort thought he could get a rush ward in that he could not. I see you judging him there, Valdez.
I'm judging hard. We'll give him an A+ for effort, but not much else.
I see what you did there. I feel like right now I'm holding up that Faker image again. I think a haha emote might be up there as well.
It's a uncanny resemblance, that's for sure. We'll show you guys later again. For you fans who came in late, as SKT, I mean, they're still very far ahead. It's funny to have them be in this position, down 3-7 in kills. Their 2 solo lanes are 0 and 2. It's not that scoreline that you're accustomed to in League of Legends.
But it's been a fun game to watch, because Jin Air came in with a plan that was, we're not going to deal with these crappy lanes, we're going to make it about us, and they achieved it, Valdez. They were playing really well in the first 15 minutes or so. As, okay, re-engage.
Wow, okay.
That's not going to work.
For your guys' information, that was not a blitzcrank.
No, that was Grace going for a big play, but he was halted. They cut him off halfway through. So rude. Yeah. Don't get a full conversation out of them, and they're going to try and spray the face again.
Blitz is going to say no, and now Faker says, yes, I want to do the damage onto C's, is going to force him away. And now he's going 1v1 onto Root, as Kellen's like, wait, how'd you die so fast?
It's cute.
Yeah, he's going to get that Devour on time. Suppose he was saving it for that moment, as this is without Baron. SKT just able to move on in and take top inhibitor.
It seems like Teddy subscribes to Deft's YouTube channel. The same build coming out here. It's the Blade of the Ruin King Open. It's not an Essence Reaver, but Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, traditional carry Varus is becoming a new favorite among the LCK 80 carries. Going to see this replay. Grace thinks he's going to get a huge play here. He's not, because he gets Sejuani ulted as he's about to come through. The ward over the wall was actually the reason they knew to Sej ult when they did, so nice team play from SKT, and it makes Grace look, a little bit silly.
Yeah, that was, that's a replay he's going to want to forget, but good job by SKT to shut him down. We went to a replay right as Khan was about to engage one-on-one onto Linderong. Looks like they both used their ultimates, pressed their buttons, but nobody died. No flashes or anything like that, so it's all good. We didn't miss much.
I see 2 Infinity Edge Seal item complete carries, and it's pretty scary for Jin Air to respond. This is the 4-1 that we forecast in Champ Select playing out. All we need to see is Fiora winning trades against the Aatrox as expected, and then there's just no good decisions for Jin Air to make, barring the most creative of Sylas ult stealing. No 40% CDR. Level 16 shenanigans just yet, and there's a little bit of a love tap. Each future one is going to get pretty aggressive.
All right,
now we're pressuring both sides of the map. What can Jin Air do?
Coming on in now as 3, as Azir is very far behind. Nobody can C's do it. The answer is going to be no, as Sejuani gets it. Stopwatch is on point from C's, but he's immediately going to go down as Faker is going to be swept up there by the Azir, but he just disappears immediately as Teddy is shredding them all in the back line. Khan says hello, and that's going to be 4-0 now as SKT going to be looking to push to win the game.
You knew the 4-1 would come eventually. They delayed Fiora versus Aatrox, but still inevitability when SKT's in the game. Faker wants Kellen. It's going to be a team wipe, and SK Telecom T1. It took a lot of hard work. Credit for effort in the early game to Jin Air, but now SKT can close out game 1.
They're able to all get on in there. Klid is going to be a little bit late for the picture, but he did a lot in the picture of this game as down it will all go. SKT, slowly but surely, are able to come to the first victory of the night.
Very cool game between SK Telecom T1 and Jin Air. Not a blowout like you might have imagined. It had to be an earned victory. But MVP of this game, I think, is one that might be difficult for people to vote on. I think there were some mistakes on different sides. Wow, Faker looks very lackadaisical on the photo there. I
like the one on the right.
The one on the right's a bit derpy, if I'm going to be real. But,
It's like, Khan, why aren't you playing? Why aren't you doing something, literally?
well, Khan did a lot of stuff. If we get a replay of the last fight, Linderong teleported in.
Hide!
But as he was teleporting in, Fiora took out 85% of his health bar, and he had to stopwatch after the teleport was done, so just couldn't achieve anything. Teddy fighting, support from Hong Kong. Shout out to our fans from Hong Kong. Global fans around everywhere. We met some who couldn't even get a ticket, Valdez, just before we started. Yeah. Because you know what? If there aren't enough Jin Air fans are going to show up, the SKT fans are going to come up, buy up those tickets, a Thailand fan as well. The global setting is never more apparent than when SK Telecom T1 are on the Rift. Something you want to do. Wow, we're just taking a tour of the world here, going through the fans.
Yeah, he's saying, I came to watch you from the Netherlands, in Korean there on the left.
We've had a couple of
Faker
fans
fighting
from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Shout out to them as well. The world tour is here. That is for sure. Is that a Nico on the top right? Nico banned away. I like the hide on bush health bar as well there.
Yeah.
Feels a bit like an
We have a lot of
here.
signs out here,
we
guys.
do. And there's a Faker head. I like it.
Yeah. That's the giant one from before.
I know, it's great.
I love it.
Uh-oh, Pengu's dabbing. The dabbing Pengu is gone.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
Faker got to
did a
dab
lot
on
of
some health bars as well as the game went on here. I wonder if he'll win the MVP. My vote was for Clid. I thought his early jungler